Okay, so I briefly talk about this biology-inspired neural networks. In biology, the axon can propagate in both directions, yes, left and right. So while the current artificial neural networks are focused on unidirectional propagation. So the first question is how to make also the two-way neural networks which are able to propagate in both directions. So this is made on poster, which is available. Okay, in this, the current artificial neural networks and biological are quite different. So still the biological seems superior. So the question is how to catch up with artificial. So there are approaches with the spiky neural networks trying to recreate the behavior of the spikes. However, this is the neuron is extremely complicated. So it looks too complex to do. And there are many hidden dynamics like bursting, like the cancellation of colliding action potential. So this might be too low level to properly recreate the behavior of biological neurons. So maybe it's better to think about kind of a logical neuron. What mathematics is represented in this complex neuron? Yeah. So there is some mathematics, maybe some multiplication could be hidden there. So we would like to try just to find that it's mathematics and represent it. And this is standard approach. So the standard is this multi-layer perceptron, and recently this Kolmogorov-Arnold networks. So this can be thought of as kind of a logical neuron, which tries to extract the mathematics hidden in the maybe biological, but too simple. So, but the question, so they are one way, yeah. So they are focused on propagation in one direction. But as mentioned, the biological, for example, if you have axon, it doesn't matter if the action potential goes left or right. So they are fundamentally two-way. So this is one difference we could try to repair to make artificial neurons which have this possibility to work fundamentally in both directions. And another difference is that the standard artificial neurons work on values. However, for animal, it seems crucial to also evaluate how certain are we of the prediction. So not only value, but maybe also the probability distribution. So maybe it can also work on probability distribution. So what would be very valuable for animals. And finally, the standard propagation is not seen as biologically plausible because it requires non-local connections. Yeah. So the question is how to find different training options which could be hidden in the dynamics of biological neuron. Yeah. So there are ways like this information bottleneck I talked about, which only require communication between neighboring neurons. Yeah. So we would like to have training with only local communication with neighboring layers. So this is the approach, I think, which is relatively simple for mathematics, which could be very similar as in standard, but much more powerful, satisfying all these three conditions, which I think are crucial for biological. So instead of thinking about just a set of like multi-layer perceptron, just some linear combination plus nonlinear function for one direction. Maybe you should think about biological neuron, like here as a data structure. Yes, so this is very complicated situation. Some structure which maybe could process in various ways, maybe multiple directions. So maybe let's think about it as data structure. So the question is, what this data structure could hold? And the model of joint distribution of neighbors, I think is natural candidate. So having the points like here, we can find a model as a joint distribution here as polynomial. Yeah. So having this model of joint distribution as this content of neuron, which I think could fit into this biological one, we could, for example, change the propagation direction. Yeah, so just substituting one variable and normalizing, we get conditional distribution in one direction. Taking expected value, we can get value propagation in one direction. Yeah, so from the position, what is the expected value in the vertical axis, or the opposite? Yeah, so we can substitute y and normalize and take expected value, and we get this kind of conditional expected value. Here is for 2 dimensions. Here is To normalize, we get the probability distribution con- conditional. So the formulas in this representation are turns out very simple. So maybe let's look at them. The basic formulas like here. So it's saying that this joint distribution is just a linear combination. It's very convenient to use orthonormal basis like polynomials. Then the one way to estimate the parameters is just direct estimation. Very cheaply, we can estimate the parameters of this polynomial, like here. Then having this model, we can easily find conditional. So yeah, so just substituting y and normalizing, we get this formula for the conditional distribution of x based knowing y. Then taking expected value, we can get a conditional expected value. So we can now propagate values. So yeah, so we get propagation of value of probability distribution. And we can also switch the direction. Yeah, so just substitute x instead of y. And we get very similar formula. The green one is the most important. The rest is normalization. Could be taken as seen as normalization. So you can see that we have one matrix, and we just have to multiply it, just to transpose it generally, permutate indexes. Yes, and we get the propagation in the other direction. Yeah, so we just need a matrix, and we can very easily change propagation direction. We have also evaluation of mutual information, how it mentioned further. So we just need a matrix and changing propagation, to transposing it or not. So maybe it could be hidden in this kind of biological neuron. So this is not very difficult mathematics. So maybe it could be hidden there and getting all these properties we would like to get for biological neurons. Yeah, so for the joint distribution model, it's very convenient to use this just linear combination. So first we normalize variables to nearly uniform distribution. So what we do, so variable grows, then the expected value, the second variable grows. Here, if the horizontal variable grows, then the for vertical variable variance grows. Is the probability of extreme values. Here the opposite. Here we have kind of dependence between the variances. So if one has a large variance, then the second should also have a large variance. So there are literally dependencies between moments. So first and first moment, first and second and first, second and second. So this is literally decomposition into mixed moments of the variables. So this is also known in economy, finance as homoscedasticity. That if one company has large change, then the other should have a large variance. Yeah, so it is very well known in economic finance. So we have this simple representation as just working out of these mixed moments, which allows us to get a model of joint distribution. Yeah, so simple mathematics and we get practical models. So here is some comparison with a different well-known method, this kind of density estimation. So we have some points, and the question is, what is joint distribution for these points? So in current density estimation, you would say that you just put Gaussian in every point, getting this kind of joint distributions, and they depend. Please mute. They depend on the radius. Please mute. Sure. So data into training and the test data. So we train on the first one and test on the second. So and the question is how well the features found on the training data generalize into the test data. So here is the density estimation for this data set. So we can see that this barely goes above 0, and 0 is just assuming uniform distribution. So for this one, this assumption you would get 0. So it is barely above this trivial assumption. However, if you fit polynomials, these are the blue is fitting polynomials, the orange is fitting some trigonometric functions. So what would be interesting for periodic functions, for example. So we can see that it is much better. It can, if there are some dependencies, it can squeeze some information. So you can see that it's the best to use degree 4 polynomials. So kind of moments up to fourth moment, so up to kurtosis. So function, new points will be close to the old points. What is not always true. So usually this is much better for generalization. This global basis of polynomials instead of local basis of Gaussians. Okay, so here is this basis further. Yes, so in one dimension we have these polynomials orthonormal are very convenient for estimation. So here is for one variable. So and now we have for two variables. So just using those four, we can model marginal distribution of this variable. Using those four, we can get marginal distribution of this variable. Then we can use this pairwise, and here we have this correlation. Here is this homoscedasticity. So we can literally decompose dependencies into probability distribution, density of first one variable, second variable, then the dependencies literally, and then we can go to three variables. So we get normalization, a marginal distribution of the three variables, then pairwise distributions, then triplewise distribution. Yes, so now depending not on two but all three variables. If two are large, then third is large or small. So we get this literally this hierarchical decomposition into moments of increasing number of variables. So we can still good interpretability of these parameters that are just moments. So here is such example that we have in 3 dimensions. So we have just this product basis. We represent this density as this literally as polynomial. Now this estimation is very simple, just averaging of the given function over the data set. And now the coefficients look like here. For example, here is in 9 variance of fourth variable and eighth variable. Yeah, so we can very well control what given coefficient means. Yeah, so this is this homoscedasticity between fourth and eighth variable. So generally, the number of these parameters can grow exponentially with dimension. So in practice, for example, you can restrict onto pairwise dependencies between let's say up to fourth moment, or up to kurtosis. So this is the basic estimation, but you can also use this adaptive estimation that instead of just averaging, take exponential moving average, and now we can get evolving probability distribution. So now it will not be just one joint distribution, but joint distribution which evolves in time based on the data. So this is for non-stationarity. And you can also work with missing data. So for example, if there are missing the values on the zero coefficients, then it's not a problem because this coefficient does not depend on them. So we can still evaluate, estimate this coefficient, even the zero coefficients are missing. So we can effectively use all the data available in the data, even if some coordinates are missing. Okay, so here is some simple example of single neuron. Like this can-like example, like in can article, that we have some function, and you'd like to. So this is dependence between 5 variables. So we would like to model joint distribution in 5 dimension 5. So like in this cube, in 5-dimensional cube, and here is the entire parameter estimation is just this linear matrix products. So this finds all the coefficients of our of our polynomial in these 5 dimensions, and it can it nicely decreated this function. So we can see that first power minus second power minus third power plus fourth power. So one neuron is already very powerful. It can model high dimensional dependencies like here. So we can treat it as can-like. So in can, there is this one parameter function which is trained, and there is summation. So here the function trained are polynomials. So this one polynomial, second polynomial, and plus a summation. Yeah, so it can be degenerated to can if we restrict to only pairwise dependencies. However, it brings many new possibilities, like uh, having such trained can-like network, we can change propagation direction. Yeah, so we have one network, but you can put input as the original output, and you can still propagate to the network, for example. Or we can propagate not only values but also probability distributions. Yeah, so we can work with any network. We can work on probability distribution and still propagate them. Then we can interpretation. The parameters are mixed moments. Then it degenerates to can if you have only pairwise dependencies. But we can so here we can see there are only pairwise dependencies between this first moment of first variable and jth moment of the second variable. Here first moment of first variable and jth moment of third variable. But we can also add higher order, triple order dependencies and so on. Then we can have inexpensive evaluation of the mutual information. We get control of the bits of information going to the network, and we can additional training options like this direct estimation, tensor decomposition I mentioned, and this information bottleneck is biologically plausible method. So this kind of like network, you can see it, however, with many potential improvements. So finally, so here is this information that the theoretic view that we can having such parameters as model of giving model of joint distribution, we can easily evaluate them, approximate the entropy as just minus sum of square of the coefficients. And then finally the mutual information. So we can easily evaluate the mutual information, getting this kind of formula. So having this picture, sum of square of these parameters, this between the variables give us approximation of mutual information and so on. So we can easily get this information theoretic estimation. What is especially interesting for training and for explainability to say how many bits are going to the network. We can control it. So finally, we get this formula. So having some sample, you can easily calculate you can easily estimate the coefficients as this linear product as previously, and then we get the approximation of mutual information from the data sample. So it is very similar to so-called HCIC, this Hilbert-Schmidt information criterion using information bottleneck training. I go now. So this information bottleneck training is a very nice way. It's biologically plausible. So in theory it could be hidden in the biological neural network because it tries to, instead of thinking about weights, it thinks about content of intermediate layers. Yeah. So having this input layer and output layer, the question is what should be in the intermediate layers. So first of all, it should have be close to the predicted layer. So it should so is the information and it gives bits of information. How many bits of information is transferred between this and this? Yeah, so this is this mutual information between this T layer and the final layer or the next layer. But also it should reduce the mutual information in the first layer to reduce noise, to remove unnecessary information. So finally, let's use this summation, this maximization of this with the final layer or the next layer, and minimization of mutual information with the previous layer. So this is something what we can use to train using only local information of neurons. So this is to biologically plausible training. But the question is how to evaluate this mutual information. So we get this seek-like formulas like here. So there are some two articles about this seek I have found. So uses this kind of evaluation where this K is kind of pairwise similarity in the data sample, and we can now evaluate this mutual information approximately between the two samples. So the original one uses local basis of Gaussians, while here we can replace it with, I think, much better global basis. And now instead of single Gaussian, we get now these multiple polynomials. You work hiding this hiding this kind of representation as polynomial of chosen order. So we can practically work on this information theoretic training or evaluation. And finally, this is some summary, and also for three variables formulas. And also there is some additional way of training is by tensor decomposition that we have a joint distribution, for example, these five variables as previously, and we would like to automatically deconstruct it, decompose it into, let's say, three smaller tensors, and there are mathematical ways to do it automatically, extending the singular value decomposition method. Okay, thank you. So let me stop.